How's it going, everybody? So you've often wondered, can you get good paint results on a die cast out of a rattle can? Great question. There's some thought process that goes into it, so let's get to it. Now I have my die cast ready to paint. As you can see, I have the paint all off of it, stripped off. I've added my details that I want to add to it, and it is ready to paint with a color, not a Spectraflame or a translucent, because I haven't polished it. But that's the great thing about this. If you're not going to be doing a translucent type or Spectraflame type of paint, you don't have to polish it. And that raises the question, how are you going to paint it? Well, I'm glad you asked, so let's discuss that. The cheapest, easiest, most readily available is the rattle can. That's the reason it's called that, the rattle can. You can get excellent results out of this. You really can. There's a lot of people on YouTube that do die cast restorations and stuff and customs that use rattle cans. But there is a little thought process that goes into it that you'll need to address. And then you also have the airbrush type. Which one is right for you? What are you going for as the end result? That's where it all boils down to. And like I said, the rattle cans are great, but I strongly recommend you using a primer, right, whenever you do it. And the reason for it is it just helps give the paint a good surface to bond to. Primers have stuff in it to actually make it want to stick to bare metals, plastics, stuff like that, and that gives the paint something to stick to. So this is kind of like the middleman in a jewelry purchase, right? So, but the decision comes down to this: what type of finish are you looking for? Are you just looking for a really cool custom color, or are you looking for a pure flat out showroom quality restoration paint job? So that's what you have to decide. If you're going after just a good quality paint job, rattle cans work perfect. If you're going for a showstopper, polished finish, looks like a mirror and no defects, no orange peel, anything like that, then the airbrush is the way to go. Now there is a cost difference. $5 to $10 for a can of, well, 5 to 15, because you know, if you want to get perfectly matched color for your car, then some of that costs a little bit more, but $5 to $15, right? Compared to $100 to $500 for a good airbrush setup. Now, why would you want one over the other? Rattle cans or spray cans, aerosol cans, whatever you choose to call them, are designed to cover a large area, okay? In other words, if you're painting a rock at a school, or you're painting a fender on a car, or a larger scale model, something like that, anything that needs large coverage, rattle cans work great. And the reason for that is the atomization, or the spray pattern that comes out of the rattle can. In other words, the droplets of paint that comes out, because it's in liquid form right now, right? You got about that much paint, and the rest of it's propellant. Well, when you shake it, it mixes it. So it will come out in droplets. It goes from a liquid to droplets, or almost like vapor, okay, for lack of better terms. And those droplets are rather large. So when they hit the surface, right, you don't get a complete smooth coverage, which you don't really with any paint. But the droplets are larger, and as they sit there and dry, you might have a large droplet next to a smaller droplet, you know, like a medium to a even larger, and that creates a waviness to the paint, and that's called orange peel. Now, it's very easy to get rid of orange peel, but do you want to go through that extra step, that extra effort? You may or may not. Primers do the same exact thing, but they tend to lay flatter because they don't have the urethane in them like these do, okay? The actual spray paint, some of them will have a urethane in it to give you the shininess and the protection that you need to put the project outside. So that's one thing to consider. Orange peel, you can get rid of it after you put on your paint. You can actually take some sandpaper, like start with like a 400 grit and move up to like a 2000 grit and just lightly sand it, because if you sand too much, you'll actually sand through the paint. Okay, just lightly sand it, hit it with another grade, another grade, another grade, and then when you're done, just take your favorite wax and just dab it on there and your finger and just rub it in real good. You will be amazed at the results that you get from that. Okay, now when you move up to the airbrush, the spray pattern that comes out of this, and in some guns, is adjustable, but the spray pattern you get out of this in general is a lot finer. The atomization is a lot finer than the rattle can. Okay, so it just, when it goes on, it's smaller particles, they're grouped closer together, so it still has orange peel, but it's not really that visible to the naked eye like the rattle can is. But the rattle can, you have to get down and get the light just right to see it, but the atomization and the coverage is so much better out of a airbrush gun. That's why a lot of people choose to use it. Yes, there's a lot more work involved because there's more cleanup, especially in between color changes, and once a month is strongly recommended. You completely disassemble it to clean it. That way it continues to work for years and years and years like it's supposed to. But you just get a better coverage, a better overall paint job out of this. But with a little work, you can achieve the same look. So let's go over this, because this is what I've chose to use today on this car. I'm going to hit it with white primer. I'm going to hit it with white gloss paint. Now there's a couple things that can help you get a better paint job out of a rattle can, and that is by decreasing, yes, decreasing the size of the water droplets or paint droplets that comes out of this, increasing the pressure inside the can. So when it comes out of this can, the pressure will be better. With a little higher pressure, it'll be a smoother, flatter, more balanced spray, if you will, and it will just make the paint lay smoother because it's already heated. So when it gets out into the atmosphere, it doesn't have time for all those molecules and those paint droplets to try to separate from one another. It will actually make the finish flatter. Okay, and then you decide if you want to sand it or not. It's totally up to you. It doesn't take that much, 5-10 minutes to sand the car and buff it with some wax, rubbing compound or just straight up all-in-one wax will do it. But that's what we're going to use today, and I'm going to show you that you can get a good result out of it. So let's get to it. Okay, like I said, the first thing you want to do is get it warmed up. So the best, easiest way is to turn the water on, get it nice and hot, fill up a large container with hot water. Now you don't want it scorching hot, you want it hot enough to where you can still hold your hand under it, right? And not burn yourself. Fill up your container, right? Set it over to the side. Take your cans, put them in that hot water, and let them sit for approximately 5 minutes. After that 5 minutes, the temperature inside that can should be good. This is assuming that your paint was inside and is already at room temperature, okay? Now if it was outside in your storage shed or whatever and it's real cold, 10-15 minutes. Just keep that water warm and let them sit for a while. While we're doing that, we will get the car prepped. Now the next step is to get the car ready. We've been handling this all along and everything, so we need to get our grease and our fingerprints and grease and everything off of it. So let me get the camera turned just a hair. There we go. And then we're going to hit it with our favorite degreaser. I've already washed this with soap and water, but we just want to liberally spray this down with degreaser, right? Let it sit there for just a minute. You can now take if you want to do more than this, you can now take a sponge, a toothbrush, whatever, go over this, go through all the cracks and everything, but I'm not going to do that because I've already done it. I've already cleaned it. I'm just degreasing it now. But again, the warm water, spray the car down. Let me turn it down just a hair. Spray the car down. Alright, make sure you get all that degreaser off. And if this is a rush paint job or something you need to get done real quick, like today's the only day that we've had warm weather outside, or it wasn't windy and not raining, I've got about an hour and a half, 2 hours before it gets dark. So I'm going to go ahead and at least get it primed today. So I'm going to take this into the bathroom and dry it off with a hairdryer, but you can use a heat gun, whatever you want to use. But if you use something with a lot of heat, like a heat gun, be sure not to hold it on there too long, because you can actually cause stuff to start to warp. Now as you can see, we're outside. Got the Rattle can primer, right? And you want to shake it up really good for, 30 seconds or so, which I've already done and I'm going to continue to do. But we've got the car out. As you can see, it's all nice and dry. It looks really good. It's warm to the touch. The paint can is warm to the touch. So we're ready to go. It's a little bit breezy outside, and I don't recommend doing this in the breeze, but we're going to go ahead and do it anyway, because like I said, the rain has just been relentless. But what you want to do is, you don't want to try to coat the whole thing at one time. You want to do it in what's called tack coats. In other words, a light coating, just a quick, and you want to kind of hold it about this far apart, 8 to 10 inches I recommend. And we're not trying to paint the whole thing at one time. We're just trying to give it a light misting, and then we'll come back and do it again until it's completely covered, and then we'll do the paint the same way. So I'm going to go ahead and just stop yapping. I'm going to do it, and I may do a voiceover as we actually do the painting. But if you do too much too fast, you'll get runs, you'll start losing body panel lines like that door gap and everything. It'll just disappear. So here we go, just light coats, like I say, just a quick coat off screen, off camera, and then just come and hit it really, really lightly. Not trying to cover the whole thing at one time. And that's all we're going to do for this coat. Because like I said, that is actually a panel defect, that is not a paint defect. That will disappear as I paint it. But it'll take, for a couple minutes for this to tack up, and then we'll come back out and hit it again. As you can see, it's already starting to flatten, so that's showing you that it's drying. But we're going to take this back inside, dust-free environment, let it dry, hit it again, let it dry for about 5 or 10 minutes, then hit it with the paint. While I'm waiting on this to dry, this will go back into the warm water until we are done using it. Remember, light coats is your friend. Just really, really light coats. And that's enough for that. But there you go, that's the final coat. I don't know if you can see it or not. It's pretty flat, but you can still see slight orange peel in there when the light hits it a certain way. So that's what you have to make up your mind with. Do you want that orange peel or do you not? Now I may put another coat on this, I'm not certain yet, and whatnot. So far it's looking pretty good. I'm gonna get this painted up. I need to hit that front just one more time, just like so. Look it over. And if it looks like there's anywhere else it needs a slight coat, like a little leveling coat, now is the time. and that'll be it. That's all I am putting on that car as far as paint. Hey buddy, hey. Well, there you go. As you can see, you can get really good results. Now I still got to do some touch-up paint and a few other odd and end things I'm going to do to this car, so you're not going to see the finished product in this video, but you can get really good results. I mean, look at that shine and the reflection from the light. You can get really good results from spray cans. You just have to decide what it is in the end that you're looking for. This is still drying. I'm going to let it dry overnight. It won't take 15-20 minutes to completely dry, but I'm going to put it in a cabinet and let it sit in there all night, dry, so that way no dust gets on it. And I will inspect it tomorrow, and like I said, it's up to you. What are you looking for? If there's something wrong with it, a piece of dust in it or whatever, you take some real fine sandpaper, depending on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to get rid of your orange peel, I suggest starting from 400, 800, and then 1200, and then hit it with some compound or some polish, and that'll bring the shine right back. If you're going to leave it just as is, if everything's good, then by all means put you a little coat of wax on it, and that'll give it that extra pop. Just regular automotive wax before you put the body back together, and it will just make it pop. It'll make it look so great. But like I said, I still have a few more details I have to do to this before I put it back together. But you can get good results if you follow the tips that I've given you. It will go so much easier. Until next time, I hope this helped you. Get out there and get the painting. Doesn't matter how you do it, just get out there and do it. Enjoy it. That's what it's about. With that said, get out there and enjoy your hobby, whatever it is, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you so very much for watching.